See, when I was in school and people got into fights, they did the circling thing, but you actually got to the front to see what was going on, and it was people like aggressively patting each other on the back while hugging.
So
that's what it ended up with mine.
Very supportive.
That punch that throws him like 30 feet backwards.
That would kill him.
Yeah, that's got to be a collapsed rib cage, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is absolutely brutal.
Shards of your sternum pushed into your heart.
Yeah.
Never.
That's an awkward phone home, isn't it?
Yeah. They were holding Raimi back from making that scene.
Yeah, they probably were.
1985 Raimi.
He gets out a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after this, obviously you get the bit where he's running around and discovering he can jump really far. Probably shouldn't just watch it. Climbs up the walls and stuff like this, and this is all really good stuff. Because, like, one of the things that you were saying, Harry, is that he comes across really soy, but this is just an act. Is this just an act?
What?
Is he not actually a soy boy?
As in Tobey Maguire in real life?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I learned something about Tobey Maguire a while ago, which still astounds me. So back in, like, 2004...
So when he was making these films?
Yeah, so when he was making these films, some woman called, like, Molly Miller or something began running a series of celebrity poker tournaments. And it turns out that Tobey Maguire in real life is incredible at poker and utterly ruthless. He would play mind games with people to throw them off their games. He won all of them, and Miller herself, at one point after he won one of these competitions, he was apparently holding up like $1,000 poker chip to her and forced her to bark like a dog in return for it. And they made a film about Hollywood made a film about this in like 2014 called
Jessica Chastain.
called Molly's Game or something, where Tobey Maguire is player X and he's played by all these different people like Michael Cera, and he's just a complete dick. And it's apparently based entirely off of how he was in these poker tours. So I just like it. It turns out Bully Maguire is real. And that one of his favourite pastimes was to fuck over other Hollywood stars.
Absolute Sigma.
Yeah, exactly.
How come his sticky spider feet work through his shoes?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer for. It's a loophole that really deserves this to get another star knocked off. Really,
Sam Raimi needs to answer some questions.
Yeah, I mean it is a good question though. I mean, like, why does that work? But yeah, I really liked this kind of quite slow build up. Really, you know, like because everyone knows the backstory, right? This is why I'm so sick of Batman films. It's like, we're gonna have to find out this. Look, we know the backstory. Yeah, so his parents get shot, blah blah blah. But this is all done really well, and ties into the adolescence.
Well, it's also quite efficient. It's not wasting any time. Each of the scenes is setting up. Here's the power. Here's him discovering it. Here's the power. Here's him discovering it, and then you put it all together. Like all the scenes together take less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But each of them, they get the little payoffs here where
here's him fucking up.
Yeah. So you get that feeling of growth to go along with it. But I think when you talked about I was thinking about this, the kind of idea of the superhero origin story. I think this was one of the first ones to go all in on having a big portion of the film dedicated to the origin story. Because you think those Superman films, he's just Superman.
Yeah.
The Tim Burton Batman films, he's already Batman. Somebody mentioned Blade. When you go into Blade, Blade's already established.
Right.
X-Men, you have a little bit of it, but that's more... The team's already there. Everybody's already established. Wolverine is kind of...
It's about dragging Wolverine into the world.
Yeah, it's the viewpoint.
Yeah.
This one, and I think it works because Spider-Man's origin story is so important with all of to explain why he behaves the way he does and why he makes the decisions he does. The whole great power comes great responsibility.
Why he chooses to be Spider-Man.
And then after this one is where they all seem to start to go really deep into having to have the origin story in each one. Then you get Batman Begins, where like half of the film is based on... Hey, at least Batman Begins, it's a good version of it, where he's with Liam Neeson in the mountains and the League of Shadows. That's all good stuff. But every other Batman film since then that's had to go over the same territory. All of the Marvel films where the first one is almost entirely dedicated to the origin story, and then a shit villain is tagged on in the last 30 minutes. Whereas at least with this one, you get the cross-cutting with what Peter is doing is contrasted with the origins of the Green Goblin. So Peter's going through this, and at the same time, Norman Osborn is having his government contracts rejected. He's deciding to go on the human testing himself. So it's all really efficient and fits nicely into 2 hours that really fly by.
And what's really interesting as well is how late in the movie some really important characters and memorable characters are introduced. Like J. Jonah Jameson isn't introduced until like an hour
over an hour into it,
20 in. But he's one of the most memorable characters in basically any superhero.
He's in 2 scenes.
Yeah, he's not in it much.
Like the introduction scene, and then Peter's selling him more photographs, and the Goblin comes in, and that's the last time you see him.
Yeah. But and obviously in other ones as well. But the point is, like, you are right. Efficiency is definitely the name of the game with this. Like, he absolutely nails all of these things. But anyway, so what this I really loved when he's discovering his superpowers. He goes back and he's clearly personally changing, becoming more confident. And Mary Jane starts noticing. She's like, "Oh, you're a bit different. What's going on?" And he's like, "Yeah, I spunk out my wrist now." Careful, it might be radioactive. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you started injecting testosterone, Peter? Something's changed.
But then her boyfriend turns up with a new car for her birthday, and it's like, Jesus Christ, what was that economy like? You know, back in 2002, like Christ on a bike. Anyway, then he's going to get the train down to town. What was the reason he was going to the town?
So that he could take part in this.
That's right, yeah.
In this, which as well. One big shout out to Macho Man Randy Savage here.
Is that who that is?
That's actually Macho Man Randy Savage.
Trying to like work out who that is.
Yeah, he showed up as a cameo in this. I think this is like when he was just at the tail end of WCW. Right. But I love this because what this is like, it's set up like pro wrestling.
Yes.
Like,
but it's not
predetermined pro wrestling. But this guy's actually trying to fucking kill these people. At one point in this fight, the women just hand him a golf club to cave Peter's head in with.
The whole thing is like a scene out of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
When the vampires come out at the end, where it's just like everyone's like, "Yeah, we're gonna kill you all." It's like, Jesus Christ, love, you know. Like,
and one of the guys as Peter's walking up is being wheeled off. He's like, "I can't feel my legs." I fucking crippled this man.
There's a great scene like this as well in Wolverine, where he fights big fat. Like, he's got some sort of latex.
Yeah.
But anyway, before he gets there, his Uncle Ben drives him down there, and Uncle Ben is talking to him about, you know, he's becoming a man. With great power comes great responsibility, and Peter is just like, "You're not my real dad," which is just like, that was actually a horrible thing. And I remember I was watching it, and I was just like, "Oh, Jesus Christ," you know.
And it hurts even more because it's the last conversation he ever has.
Well, that's the point.
But also, we've all been like moody teenagers trying to figure out who we are. So there's an emotional truth to it.
But that's the thing. 'Cause, I mean, the whole sort of like teenage chaos and bodily changes. You know, people think of it in Spider-Man as just being like him turning into Spider-Man. But there's the relationship with his uncle as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people take it as a bit of a metaphor for puberty as well.
That's what Uncle Ben references.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, but what does this do to the nature of the film itself, right? It is a film for young men who are themselves coming of age and saying, look, actually, you do have an important place in the world. You are becoming physically more powerful than some of the people around you. You've got to think about this. And the relationships you have with the people who are in your life are very important. And in fact, if you don't take care of them, something terrible might happen, and you'll carry that regret forever. And so this is not something we get out of films these days. Where do young men get a message like that from now? You know,
it was really true to the original vision of Stan Lee, who was trying to impart positive messages to the young boys who would be reading the comic books as well. And there's other interesting thematic stuff as well, which also ties into the co-creator of Spider-Man, Steve Ditko, who was a big Randian and an objectivist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there is a little bit of that in the interplay between Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, and Spider-Man, where he's talking about how we're the great men above them all. They're only there so they can hold us on their shoulders. We're the great men. It's very Randian.
He does say that a little bit later. But yeah, so anyway, I thought this was a really, really, really great way of like showing the target of the message of the story. Because one of the things that I think a lot of people fail to remember is that fiction is entirely normative. right? All fiction is not about, like, I saw, I watched some leftist video doing a response to a YouTube critic called Robothead, right? And I really like this Robothead guy. And so I was watching this, and he was like, Robothead was like, why do we want to know about, like, you know, what happens in some random planet in Star Wars, because there's nothing to do with Star Wars. And this leftist critic was like, what do you mean? You know, it could be anything there. It's like, yeah, but that's the point. The story is about Luke Skywalker and his relationships, and what the lesson we learn from the entire thing is. We don't care what happens on some random planet. It's not the story. It's not important at all. And so that I think was just really
and that's one of the problems that comes with nerd culture, is that people just get so into the minor trivial
It has to be an
details.
Objective universe. And it's like, no, it's not an objective universe. It's a story we're being told.
Yeah, depending on the kind of story. Like, if you're Tolkien, who wants to flesh out the entire universe and include those details in the story, and they later end up being important, that's great. That's where those details come in handy. But Star Wars is a coming-of-age hero story.
Yeah, right. And this is something that Stan Lee, it's one of his most famous quotes, but when he talks about the creation of Marvel and all these superheroes, he said that, well, really, it should reflect life outside of your window. Right, it should represent the struggles of the everyday people that you see in your lives, and the superheroes are just, you know, large and magnified versions of that. And as regards to, you know, representing the, you know, things going on outside of your window, I suppose that's why Stan Lee decided to put so much crime in New York City.
Yeah,
but this whole philosophy of writing stories is why Rings of Power is so shit.
Yeah,
right. They did not have a story they wanted to tell, but they had some of the sort of extraneous Tolkien background material. And so, well, we have to use this in some way. It's like, yeah, but you don't know why. You know, what's the, you know, the story is about throwing the evil ring into the volcano to kill Sauron. Why are you doing this? And they don't have it.
If you would like to see the full version of this premium video, please head over to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to gain full access to all of our premium content.